What is going on, everybody? It is episode 816 of Pop Culture Crisis. We are almost late today because my co-host wanted to talk about all of the first world problems she has that are really annoying her today.
Yeah, hi crisis actors, it's Mary. I was just on a yap session about all of these first world problems that are on my mind.
Like, nobody takes enough time at restaurants. They don't put enough Oreo in the Oreo McFlurry. And my gosh, why the hell do people talk about what direction they're traveling in?
That's also, logistical conversations are a huge pet peeve of mine for some reason.
Mary just wants you to figure the hell out where you're going when she's gone. She doesn't want you to talk about it beforehand.
I tune out completely. And then we were also talking about how thin McDonald's burger patties are.
Oh yeah, I haven't been to a McDonald's in like well over a year, but I don't remember a time in the last however many years that I ate a McDonald's burger where I wasn't hungrier after I ate it than I was before.
Yeah, that's the point, because I think they want you to come back and order more or order just a gigantic feast.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's like, why don't you just, like...
Go get one of those millennial burgers on a cutting board.
Go to Thistle and Thorn and get a burger that has a knife in it.
They need the guy who did the Thor.
Welcome to Thistle and Thorn. What can I Thor for you? For your ass tonight.
Mary has gotten her complaining out of the way. If she feels to interject later, she might talk about the USS Liberty. I have no idea.
Yeah.
No?
The UFF Liberty.
We have a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. I did get to fanboy a little bit before the show started because JB's Spooky Reviews, which I've mentioned several times on this podcast as the #1 show that I'm watching on YouTube lately because I'm going through all of his X-Files Explained episodes one by one. I just finished Piper Maru and Apocrypha today on the way to work. He was in the chat, and I was broing out a little bit there.
We have a 20 from Weary Traveler. Happy Friday, PCC and PCC community. Brett and Mary, I was wondering if either of you have seen Mr. Robot. I'm seeing The Amateur tonight and may give Mr. Robot a watch this weekend since Rami Malek is in both.
I have seen Mr. Robot.
As well.
The most I can say that I cared about Mr. Robot is I thought it was it came out at a time where he was doing a bunch of morphine and then Suboxone and
in real life?
No, on the show.
Oh,
his character.
I was like, what?
His character was taking
Method
morphine,
acting?
and then it was it rang pretty true to my life back in 2013. So it felt like the writer of the show had to know somebody in that position to really understand the way that process worked.
Market research.
Yeah, just a little bit in Hollywood.
You watched the whole thing?
I didn't finish it.
How far did you get?
3 seasons.
It was only 4, I thought.
Yeah, it was more than that, but I really only paid close attention to the first one.
I watched the whole thing.
Once
really
the review
liked
at the end came, I was like,
you know what? I liked it because I related to it because I'm a loner.
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of like the Joker.
If you knew
from the movie Joker.
Artheria Fleck, that's you. I think they could have done a little bit of workshopping with a name like F Society. Personally, I thought
that was the point. That was the point, that it's like camp. It's supposed to be ridiculous.
Yes. So, but I saw mixed to average reviews about The Amateur. It's just a tad too long. But I'm probably going to wait for streaming on that one. I'm more looking forward to The Accountant too.
I see we're done accosting Brett and Mary over our stances or lack of stances on the USS Liberty today, Weary Traveler.
Thank you, though, for coming back.
Interesting. You're back on good behavior. But I thought we put money over morals, but you're still giving us money.
Thank you, Weary Traveler.
That's crazy.
Thank you. We have a bunch of stuff to get into today, guys. But like I said, hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new here. So what are we talking about? Well, Snow White took a beating at the box office immediately after release. It lost to A Working Man in its second week. It lost to Minecraft in its third week. And now, lo and behold, look at what's happening. The pre-sale tickets for the upcoming Angel Studios animated film King of Kings has outsold Snow White in pre-sale tickets, grossing anywhere between 14.3 and 17 million in pre-sale tickets. I was getting different numbers from different outlets, but it's a big number for them. And of course, the movie's coming out over Easter weekend, so they're looking to make a lot of money off of this one while, telling the story of Jesus.
And they're beating Disney because Disney is woke and Snow White sucks.
Oh, that word.
But it's true. I know we bristle at the use of the term woke, but when the shoe fits.
I get a little bit of a...
Yeah, I know. I get it. I completely.
She does it on purpose because she knows I recoil. We're going to talk about that, about the success, the upcoming success of King of Kings. We are also going to talk about Lily Phillips and her absolutely depressing origin story. It's very
origin story.
What did I say?
You said origin story.
I meant to say origin story. Mary said we needed to talk about this today, that she's just got a very depressing story that led to her success on the platform. So.
Right. She did this tell-all interview on BBC with Victoria Derbyshire.
I don't even know who that is.
See, in the UK, they have these newscasters and local celebrities that are like gods to them.
Derbyshire sounds like AI wrote it.
Yeah. DCNC is British. I bet he would have heard of her. But yeah, we'll get into that.
Okay, and then we are also going to talk about a comedian named Alice Fraser, who's apparently terrified that her past criticisms of Donald Trump would prevent her from getting into the country. So she's abandoning the U.S. market, which I'm sure would have been huge, because she's afraid that Donald Trump is a dictator, which is funny to me. I laughed.
They're super hilarious anti-Trump jokes, I bet.
I'm sure they're really, really funny.
Just a laugh riot.
We'll talk about that, but in regard, also China responded to the tariffs about the import of movies. So we're going to get into that and Trump's response to that. And we got a bunch of other stuff. So if you're ready, Mary, we can just go. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, guys, if you didn't need more evidence to the fact that Marvel is really, really suffering and pretty much on its last leg, we just got a whole bunch of new info related to the upcoming release of the Fantastic Four, which was already struggling given the fact that they decided to cast Pedro Pascal in the film, and given the fact that Pedro Pascal is in just about every movie that comes out these days, it's kind of hard to tell them all apart. Well, they have decided to go the gender politics and such route, because they're talking about the fact that Johnny Storm is going to be updated for modern audiences. He's not going to be such a womanizer. And they're also talking about the gender politics of Sue Storm. You combine that with the fact that you're getting an obscure version of the Silver Surfer. You're not getting Norrin Rad. You're getting Shalabal, which nobody knows nor cares about. And the fact that Pedro Pascal is pretty much the most overused guy in Hollywood. I wonder if they actually even think that this movie's going to do well.
Well, before we get into the details of this cover story from Entertainment Weekly,
it's a very long article.
Do you think this is another example of a movie that was, or a show, I guess, that was on the slate for release before the election results, and they haven't caught up with the vibe shift, but it's too late to remedy that now, so they just have to commit?
I mean, I don't know if it's even worth speculating, because we're not talking about the content of the movie. We're talking about these actors, charitable interpretations of what they feel their character was. And me and you have talked about this extensively, which is most of the time when these actors give these really self-aggrandizing answers as to the utter importance of their film and how they relate to society, especially when it comes to the big blockbuster stuff, it rarely makes its way into the film.
Yeah.
Now, I 100% believe that Johnny Storm will not be allowed to be the brash. He's like kind of the definition of boys will be boys in the way he talks.
Okay.
I 100% believe that they'll cut that from the film. But do I believe that they're going to explore gender politics with Sue Storm? Not really.
The actors really tend to oversell the amount of wokeness that's in the movie.
But then it doesn't matter.
By the point that people decide not to go see it, it's too late. But here was this part of the Entertainment Weekly cover story where Vanessa Kirby explains how Sue Storm explores gender politics in the movie. Achieving global political peace sounds only slightly harder than synthesizing the decades-long fictional history of Sue Storm, As Marvel's first female superhero, she's been part of the Fantastic Four since its first issue, but back then she carried the relatively demeaning codename of Invisible Girl, could only turn herself invisible, and mostly functioned as a damsel in distress. I wondered the same thing. Her power is to turn herself invisible, and she's called Invisible Girl. How is that demeaning?
That's so lame.
That just means she has a lame power.
Yes.
Here's what Vanessa Kirby says. If you played an exact 60s Sue today, everyone would think she was a bit of a doormat. So figuring out how to capture the essence of what she represented to each generation, where the gender politics were different, and embody that today was one of the greatest joys of this. They say over the years, Sue evolved in several ways. Her abilities expanded from individual invisibility to control over electromagnetic light and force fields, making her arguably the team's most powerful member.
Yeah.
At various times, she has become a mother, a leader, a skimpily clad dominatrix named Malice. Synthesizing all these aspects into a single character was a lot of fun for Vanessa Kirby, who says motherhood in particular became the key through line. Indeed, Sue Storm's pregnancy will play a significant part in the plot. She says, Matt and I were really aware that there hasn't really been a mother with a baby in these superhero archetypes women have been getting. One of the things I love most from Sue's history is when she becomes Malice and all of her dark stuff comes out. I was obsessed with that chapter of her life, so I want to make sure that there were tones of Malice in there with her, that she wasn't just the stereotype of a goody, sweet mother. I've always been really interested in the mess of femininity. How can you be both? How can you be all the things? Not just the tough, invincible, powerful woman, but also a mother who gives birth, which is itself a superhero act. I love that these characters are real humans in a messy family who argue and try to work it out and get things wrong.
There are so many superheroes that have kids. It's not even funny. So it's not. That's actually not true.
I first thought of Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. I laugh because the 1960s. They probably won't be able to stay away from it. The fact that the movie is set in the 1960s, they're going to have to overdo at least some tropes about gender politics in the 1960s.
No, they're gonna meet MLK.
Probably.
No, I'm just kidding.
And the other thing is look, if this is to be addressed in the movie, it's DOA after the first weekend. Unless it's done unbelievably well. People are going to smell it on them, because what people then think at that time is that the reason you said it in the 60s, because now people aren't thinking about the final product. They're thinking about what decided to make them choose that to be the final product. And what they'll think is you chose the 1960s so that you could have a conversation about this topic.
Yeah.
Right? And
so you could have plausible deniability.
Correct. And it gets worse than just her,
right?
Because I think the Joseph Quinn one is honestly even funnier, because it is the funniest part about Chris Evans, Johnny Storm in the original Fantastic Four, that he is kind of an incredulous, I don't know if womanizer is the word I would use, but it kind of is the word that I would use. I rewatched it recently, and there's the scene right after the whole incident, and he's getting his temperature taken by a nurse, and it's just it's Maria Menounos. If you know who Maria Menounos is, she created AfterBuzz TV, but she also did some acting. She doesn't look like a nurse, and the whole point is that he's basically hitting on her the whole time. And that's bad. And that's a through line for it. And the thing is they won't be able to address this in a way that actually does character development. Now, if you want to start with a character being like that, and throughout the length of the movie, he kind of grows as a person, that's doable. But when you do it, you have to be able to frame it in a way that doesn't treat the way he was before as evil. It has to merely treat it as an aspect of his personality that was okay to grow out of, if that makes sense.
We have a 20 from John Locke. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
The thing is also, thank you for that. I don't want him to be self-aware. I don't want him to be self-aware. I don't want ultra deep character development in this movie, if I'm being 110% honest, because I don't buy that their writing is capable of telling a lot of deep introspective growth from these characters. One of the great things was that he was the opposite of Reed Richards in those movies. Is like Reed Richards was very, very different, very, very cerebral, intellectual, a bit quieter, and they made for great. They countered each other great. Like when he talks about his quote, this is what he says. He goes, he says, where we are culturally, he was this womanizing guy. Is that sexy these days? I don't think so.
This is the full quote.
Yeah.
He's a man that leads with a lot of bravado, which can be an affront sometimes, but also he's funny. Myself and Kevin Feige were speaking about previous iterations of him and where we are culturally. He was branded as this womanizing, devil-may-care guy, but is that sexy these days? I don't think so. This version of Johnny is less callous with other people's feelings, and hopefully there's a self-awareness about what's driving that attention-seeking behavior. What is he going to do, go to therapy?
I want him to be callous of other people's feelings. It's part of the character.
The director called this version of Johnny really smart and not just a dim-witted hothead. He's on that spaceship for a reason, and I think sometimes people forget that in various comic stories, he's been one of the most heroic of them, even if he's undercutting his heroism at every turn through humor. He's Sue's brother, which means they are cut from similar cloth.
So I decided to look through some of the like I got a lot of responses because I posted about this yesterday, but I thought we'd look through some of the quote tweets about it. It's a good gauge of where the internet was for this film. And right now, for a movie like this, for a Marvel movie specifically, you need the internet on your side. Like, you don't have the strong word of mouth from the previous movies to kind of carry you over the finish line like you did prior to the end of Phase 3, like with Endgame. So you need people online to be singing the praises of this film. But heel versus babyface, this was in relation to the Fandom Pulse headline that says Vanessa Kirby confirms that Fantastic Four will explore gender politics with Sue Storm. He says, and you lost me. Grum says, Hollywood's still not learning. Both Hollywood and gaming are too entrenched in identity politics. It's not going well for them. Sad to see. Mark with a C. Dude's awesome. It's dead, Jim. There's so many of these, and it goes on beyond that, which is this one in relation to the Joseph Quinn quote says, the whole point of Johnny is that he's a bit of a dick and needs to learn to be better with a more responsible person. It's the same reason Netflix's The Last Airbender taking away Sokka's sexism robbed him of his character arc.
Mention that. Yeah.
God forbid a character have a mortal flaw. That's what I mean. I don't even know if it's necessarily a mortal flaw, but a character being not a perfect person is a perfectly reasonable thing to see in a movie and a television show, and eliminating it for the sake of making the character what you believe is more likable actually doesn't work. It makes him less honest and less believable.
The example of eliminating sexism from Sokka's character in the live action version of Avatar, obviously that removed the possibility for them to show a character arc for Sokka, for him to grow out of that. He is literally like he's a 15-year-old boy when you start the show. He is not going to be a fully matured, emotionally intelligent person. But aside from that, I'm not convinced that just playful chauvinism is a character flaw.
Yeah, it would depend on where you come down on the argument, right?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that's a flaw that needs to be fixed in the character arc anyway. So
if you want to use an example of somebody in Marvel, that would be Tony Stark, who starts out that way and grows out of it, but he doesn't lose his snark. He just, he becomes less of a sexist chauvinist. After Iron Man 1.
I do think that the statement Vanessa Kirby made in that interview is being blown out of proportion.
Yes, it is.
Because of the term gender politics. Like, she didn't name check feminism, oppression, patriarchy, any of those things. She was trying to make a nuanced point about her portrayal of this character, and it didn't land. But it's kind of because you have to walk on eggshells now. In the media, and that's something that they are going to latch onto and amplify.
Hack the Movies says, oh, so they made him a loser. Great job.
Yeah.
Lorena Creole says, emasculated male characters are not sexy. Thanks for ruining my Johnny Storm, Marvel.
One of them said Disney needs to go with lesser known actors or make these actors/actresses sign a gag order.
I mean, it doesn't. That's incongruous because they have to do these interviews when the releases for these movies come out.
Is Marvel going to avoid this nonsense by picking unknown actors to play Fantastic Four? Because the IP theoretically does all the work for them?
I think that Marvel's past that point now. They love to cast known actors.
That's kind of the only thing they do.
Yes.
Now.
The actor playing the Thing is probably the one that's least known out of all of them, Eben Moss Bachrach, and he's still a pretty known dude.
Unless it's a child. Like, unless they had, like, Xochitl Gomez or Iman Vellani.
So here's the other reason why this matters, because Thunderbolts is coming out soon, and the projections are not good for Thunderbolts either. Now, if we were looking at really strong box office for the Thunderbolts, that it could possibly lead into this movie doing well because Thunderbolts comes out before it, it's projected to make between 63 and 77 million per the Hollywood Reporter. At the higher end, Box Office Pro says like 65 to 85 million, but it's looking to end somewhere in the $400 million range, which is about the same as like the Eternals in Shang-Chi, which are not exactly considered high flyers for Marvel.
We have a 20 from Dreamcast Night. This made my decision to see Superman over Fantastic Four much easier. Superman looks like slop, but Fantastic Four looks like a ham-fisted message fest. We know why it's set in the 60s, and it's boring, even with Fillion's hair.
And okay, so that was the other thing that I was going to put up here. The reason I brought up the Thunderbolts is because when Thunderbolts comes out, it needs to give them good lead-in because the release of Fantastic Four is, I believe, the 25th of July. So
Yes.
on July 2nd, they have the new Jurassic World movie, and on July 11th, they have the new Superman movie. And I did a bunch of polls the other week about the release of these movies, like which one do you think is going to make the most money? Which ones do you think critics are going to like the most? Which ones do you think of the audience do you think the most? Most of the people think that Superman is going to end up making the most money out of all of these, but I was surprised how many people were saying that they believe Jurassic Park is going to surprise everyone and do better than they think.
But the last one was Jurassic World Dominion, right?
Yeah, it still made a bunch of money.
Did it make its money back?
Yes, it did.
I don't
It did. It was
recall.
just critically panned and nobody really liked it. But this one has Scarlett Johansson. She's doing all the right things. She's talking about how she's always wanted to be in a Jurassic Park movie, and she had her agent look out for scripts from the franchise, and now she's finally getting a chance to play the role.
The last one was
Chris Pratt. It was still the Chris Pratt.
And what's her name?
I don't even remember.
Howard.
Oh, Bryce Dallas Howard.
That was
Right.
the two of them.
But as far as I know, I haven't seen Scarlett Johansson talk about how hunting dinosaurs is actually covert feminism and the dinosaurs are representative of the patriarchy. If she starts saying stuff like that, we can talk about it then. But I don't think
then
she's
we'll have
going
second
to
thoughts.
because she's smart. So look, the budget for the Thunderbolts is $200 million, which means the Fantastic Four budget is higher than that, if I had to guess. Given the cosmic setting, the way the movie's going to produce, it's not going to be easy for this movie to make its money back when it has to claw its way back from bad reviews or at least bad audience scores from Captain America: Brave New World, a total amount of apathy related to the Thunderbolts, and now you bring in gender politics and nerfing Johnny Storm. I don't think. Then you got Pedro Pascal as well. You've got female Silver Surfer, where then you have to have the people going, actually, there's a female Silver Surfer in the comics. That's not the point, and you know that that's not the point. The point is that the Silver Surfer that everyone actually knows is Norrin Rad, and they chose not to do that in this movie, and that reeks of agenda. So you've got like 4 strikes against you already, so I don't know.
So Marvel has this and Thunderbolts and what else coming out this year?
Well, it was Captain America.
It was just those 3?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, 3 is pretty good. They only did 1 last year. They only did Deadpool and Wolverine last year.
Yeah.
And again, all of these theoretically need to hit if they want Doomsday to matter at all. When Avengers Doomsday comes out, which it won't. So we'll wait and see. Look, I'm willing to be pleasantly surprised. Just because they say this stuff in interviews, as we've always said, that does not mean that it's going to end up somewhere in the movie. A lot of times these actors, they just like to hear themselves talk, and they want to convince themselves that what they do is more important for society than it actually is.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Scream 7 director, former Scream 7 director Christopher Landon, recently did an interview where he addressed his exit and the immense backlash that he received following Melissa Barrera's firing from the movie. And I guess that a lot of people with watermelon emojis on their screen names, for some reason, assumed he was responsible for that decision behind the scenes. Even though he was merely the director and not a studio head, he has had to clarify countless times now that he had nothing to do with the decision to fire Melissa Barrera, and yet he was blamed for it. And also, he was sent death threats in response to that announcement. But yeah, he announced his departure only, I think, a month after Jenna Ortega quit. And he said that it was a dream job that turned into a nightmare. And at the time, there were some sympathetic responses, but a lot of people who applauded him for standing in solidarity with Melissa Barrera, and they assumed that it was a political statement he was making. But that also wasn't the case, and he goes into detail here in Vanity Fair. He announced his departure in December 2023. Jenna Ortega's exit was announced the day after Melissa Barrera's firing. Here was his comment. I got messages saying, I'm going to find your kids and I'm going to kill them because you support child murder. The head of security at various studios and the FBI had to examine the threats. It was highly aggressive and really scary. He says he was originally blamed online for Melissa Barrera's firing, since he was the director, adding, I think in the absence of people understanding how Hollywood works and what the hierarchy is, the fans were like, that's the guy. And so they came for me, knives out. I did not fire her. A lot of people think I had something to do with it, and it was not my doing. I had no control over the situation at all. I decided I didn't want to give any part of myself to that. For me, it was not worth it. I would rather put my efforts into something else where I could feel appreciated and respected. The hate and abuse really spoiled it for me, and I lost my love for the idea of going forward. In the midst of all the chaos, I was grieving the loss of one of my dream jobs. And this just comes days after Jenna Ortega admitted that she lied about her reason for leaving Scream 7. It's kind of crazy that you can just admit that you lied like that.
Yeah, like, I was kidding.
Right? Like, obviously, I mean, everyone knew all along.
It's like whenever somebody says scheduling issues, I just know they're lying.
Or if they say something vague about creative differences, you know that it's something way more personal than that.
Yeah. Well, oh, no, not necessarily. Like, it's just that it undersells the scope of what those creative differences might actually have been.
Right. Jenna Ortega admitted just days ago that she actually quit because of Melissa Barrera's firing, and she just felt like she wasn't doing the movie with the same tight-knit community of people anymore. And I assume that Christopher Landon felt the same way, and now he's in the middle of promoting his new film, Drop, which is a Blumhouse production.
Yes.
But, yeah, then he goes on about her leaving, Jenna Ortega leaving, and he says he was hoodwinked by the studio.
Yeah, they definitely did this dude dirty. They're like, oh, you're going to sign on, right? You're going to sign on, right? You're going to sign on, right? He finally signs on. They're like, got ya.
Yeah, they completely jump scared him. No pun intended. And they only told him that Jenna Ortega had left the project after he signed on to direct. That's just crazy work. Like, that feels like a legal issue.
Like the star of the movie.
How can you do that to someone?
And that would have been before they got Nev Campbell back, I'm guessing.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're like, so we have no star.
Yeah.
We have no co-star. All the main characters that actually mattered are either dead or not coming back. Here you go.
Have fun.
You can have Ghostface. That's all. I mean, to be fair, some people believe that as long as you have Ghostface, you can make it work. I really don't call any of them Scream after Scream 4 because once Wes Craven died, I just kind of don't care.
Well, a lot of people after Scream 6 were saying that Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega killed it, and they're like the new Scream queens of this century. And
I mean, I don't know if I mean,
it might have been overselling it.
Yeah.
But they certainly are popular. Jenna Ortega especially was a huge draw if this went through as planned. But he said, at the time, we were figuring it out. How do we make another movie without her? How do we manage that? So that was old news to me from the go. It made a lot of sense what she said, because I do think that sometimes when you're an actor, it'd be like Jessica Roth finding out we're making a third Happy Death Day and I'm not directing it. I think we all get very attached to the people that we work with and we align ourselves with creatively. And when somebody new comes in, it's like, who's this guy? So I totally got that 100%. And now, in response, they have brought back Neve Campbell, and they've brought
Courtney
on
Cox is also coming
Kevin
back.
Williamson directing.
Supposedly Scott Foley is coming back too. Again, I don't know how you do that given what happened to him at the end of Scream 3. I don't know. But
Look,
supposedly Matthew Lillard
AI.
is back too.
Whatever.
So they're bringing back Matthew Lillard, and there was a lot of conspiracies, alternate theories about what happened to Stu at the end of Scream 1, and that one of the early versions, because he actually makes an uncredited cameo in Scream 2. He shows up at a frat party and he's just in the background. But there were like all the uncredited, or all of the theories about how he survived and he's running like a serial killer cult from jail, and it was kind of one of the inspirations for the show The Following, starring Kevin Bacon, which everybody should go watch.
But it wasn't actually a spin-off or anything.
No.
It was just an inspiration.
Well, no, the same Kevin Williamson was the guy who made The Following, and he also was the screenwriter for those films. He's still working on this franchise. I don't know if they're going to bring him back in that role or if it's going to be a flashback type thing. Like, it'll end up being like... but
de-aged.
Look, well, the great thing is he dies in a way that you could never do now. In the original Scream, she dumps a tube TV on his head, and nobody has tube TVs anymore. And if they were making, because they're making a new, they're making a new scary movie too. They need to try to reenact that now, or they just drop like a flat screen TV on you and nothing happens. Like, it kind of hurts, but it bounces.
Hey,
off you.
ow!
Ouch!
Why did you do that?
They might have done that in one of the scary movies. I don't even know. But the point is that they're bringing back Matthew Lillard, so they've got enough like old cast members back involved to distract from the fact that there isn't Jenna Ortega. But it would have been cool to see her interact with these other characters. But again, I kind of don't care, because even though you do have Kevin Williamson, Wes Craven is no longer with us.
Well, look, what I'm taking away from this is that they shouldn't have fired Melissa Barrera
in the first place.
With all the domino effects, it would have been maybe okay if she just left and that was that. But the domino effects have been kind of crazy to watch, and she didn't deserve to be fired for her political views.
She shouldn't have been.
Really? She wasn't involving it in the movie. She wasn't involving it in promo for the movie either. It was just her own personal social media account. As cringy as that may be, and whatever you think of her stance on Palestine, like, honestly, who cares?
Can I ask you a question, and we'll keep it related to these things. Do you think that it's true that women suffer more from speaking out than men?
Suffer more from speaking out?
Yeah. Are they fired?
That they speak out more, or they face more consequences?
They face more consequences. Pedro Pascal says whatever he wants, nothing happens. Mark Ruffalo says whatever he wants, nothing happens.
Well, they are much older and have a much longer career than Melissa Barrera.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking questions.
So
I mean,
those aren't really a one-to-one comparison.
A lot. I mean, I just saw people bring it up whenever
Mark
we talked about this, because it came up with Gina Carano as well, that Gina Carano says stuff about politics. She gets fired. Pedro Pascal says the same stuff at the same time from the same show, just the other direction. That's more because they agree with what Pedro Pascal is saying, but maybe it's also a little bit because he's a dude.
They agree with what he's saying, and he was the protagonist, obviously, of the show that Gina got fired
They could get rid of him and AI his voice. It wouldn't matter.
Honestly, I think they already have, but they're just not telling anybody.
Probably.
But I don't know. I mean, okay, but let's think about it from the perspective of someone speaking out, saying something that's like actually out there. Like, I don't know, something that right-wing people would sympathize with.
Like what?
Like, what has a man said? What has a man in Hollywood said that was like sympathetic to people on the right, and he didn't face consequences for it?
I can't think of one.
Like, I don't know. But then you can also point to an example like Letitia Wright. speaking out about vaccines, right? And she didn't lose Wakanda Forever.
No, but they tried real hard to get her fired. Twitter tried real hard.
Twitter,
to get her
okay,
fired.
that's one thing, but Disney didn't care.
And at that point,
but she's also black, so she has that going for her.
Also, she was the protagonist because in the upcoming,
protagonist.
she was not a secondary character.
Well, one of the main points in Gina Carano's lawsuit is gender discrimination, and she actually is claiming that Disney was discriminating against her for being a woman specifically. And she's using comparisons of political statements from Pedro Pascal to the response to hers, and saying that he faced more leeway because of his sex. I think
that's to do with with what he said.
Yeah, I don't personally agree with the argument there, but I don't actually care because she's using the same weapons against them.
Chris Pratt is not a good example because Chris Pratt Chris Pratt is kind of a good example, I guess, because he keeps working. Like, he doesn't lose his job. John,
he doesn't say much though.
Yeah, he doesn't. He kind of says, I go to church and that's about it.
Yeah, he's a Hillsong attending, libertarian leaning liberal.
Sandy Pasta says remake Anaconda. That movie was awesome. They actually are remaking Anaconda right now, and they're turning it into a comedy.
Do you think that women face more consequences for political statements?
I would say that if you didn't look into it further, it could be taken that way.
I saw some people say the backlash against Rachel Zegler, including after the release of Snow White, was more proof that American culture has a bloodlust for young women. And it's sort of the same way that someone like Britney Spears got tarnished in the media and maybe, wasn't deserving of it.
It happens if you're a celebrity. It just does. Which
I saw those takes from right-wing people who hate everything Rachel Zegler stands for.
Yeah.
And they were still saying that the backlash she was receiving was way too harsh.
For Rachel Zegler.
And I don't know if I even care. I don't feel bad for Rachel Zegler, but I saw where they were coming from when they pointed that out.
Yeah, a little bit, but at the same time,
she was scapegoated for a lot that Disney was at fault for.
There was a lot. I mean, that production, unfortunately, there's always going to be somebody who has to take the blame, and it's never going to be the studio. Back
to Scream, though, Melissa Barrera should not have been fired. Otherwise, none of this would have happened. And I just think that that's bullshit.
Adam Ledgway, yes, I agree with you. I don't think she should have lost her job for this. It wouldn't have mattered. Sylvester Stallone, yes, he's pro-Trump, but he's also a big-time Hollywood. He does Tulsa King. He's still making stuff. He was the one who produced A Working Man that just came out. He's also a big-time producer, though. That kind of changes things.
You get more leeway.
That's the same thing. That's what's true with Mel Gibson as well. He's a big-time producer. He directs himself. He doesn't need to. He does not. What about Mark Wahlberg? But Mark Wahlberg doesn't really say anything either. He just wants to stop terrorists on planes.
And he just loves Jesus, and that's it.
Yeah.
He just does Hallow.
And the reason I mentioned Anaconda, too, is because it's going to be Jack Black and Paul Rudd.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, all right.
An all-star lineup.
Look, I don't think she should have been fired, but I do think that they probably did the best thing they could in this situation, which was to get Neve Campbell back, which was to get Matthew Lillard back, which diehard fans of the franchise are going to be really excited about. So we'll have to wait and see. All right. What would you like to see? Cringe or Cute of the Day?
You decide.
All right. We'll start with Cringe. You said this is a throwback to what?
It's a throwback that feels longer ago than it was, but this is like peak pandemic era TikTok. I wonder if you've seen it.
Of course you searched matcha.
Matcha?
It says search matcha tea right here. I'm saying, so clearly it has something to do with matcha.
Oh, no, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. I don't know why that's there.
Maybe it's because you were saying stuff about matcha yesterday.
Tea. So I wear glasses, right?
Is she actually driving?
Yeah.
Bro, you're a hazard to yourself and those around you.
And, shout out to all my other glasses users. We stan a blind bitch. But the other day, I saw my friend just recently starting to wear glasses. And I was like, oh, they look really cute and adorable on her. They really suit her. So I asked her, are you nearsighted or farsighted? And I basically just wanted to know what her prescription was because she had never worn glasses before. But then the weirdest thing is, she tells me, oh, I don't actually need glasses. I just really like wearing them. And my first thought is, are you freaking kidding me? I need glasses to see. I need glasses for eyesight. And you're over here like, oh, I think they're really cute. And I'm like, okay, yeah, they can be.
She's
but like,
on your side.
Glasses are not an accessory. They get dirty, they're inconvenient, and honestly, I don't like them on my face.
Look, she's probably risking thousands of lives by driving blind, but I give her the pass. She's
If I
fine.
could reach the camera right now, it's across the room, and go, here's the motherfucking tea.
I'm on her side. I'm on her side.
I just remember when that video came out, she was raked over the coals.
Because of the driving?
No, because of the, here's the motherfucking tea.
Why?
Because it's annoying, I guess.
I mean, it is annoying, but...
Yeah, that was crazy. People actually hated her. Like full-on
you know what
death
it's you know
threats.
what's reminding me of? It's giving the same energy of that Mia Khalifa clip where she's like, Pookie.
It is! No, this girl walked so Mia Khalifa could run.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Like, she
Pookie.
started it all.
Yeah.
And the underhanded pointing thing.
Yes. Yeah.
They always were doing the underhanded pointing.
I can't say that I disagree with her, though, because I'm always like, oh, fake glasses, huh? Let me get my fake hearing aid so that I can wear my artistic hearing aid, which I oddly enough would need.
I wore fake glasses on the show once, and Brett was deeply offended.
I was.
And we won't let that happen again.
Like, I'm over here. I have to wear them. I don't have a choice. And everybody's sufficiently scared me out of getting LASIK.
Don't do it, seriously. I don't want you to end up being one of the unlucky people.
Olivia just texted me. I texted you a mocha update for people. Well, yes, mocha was
update.
in the...
Do we have a matcha update, though?
Vet just called... Mocha has a bladder infection.
Oh. Well, at least it's fixable.
Prayers up.
Prayers up for Mocha, but that sounds fixable.
Yes, let us hope.
At least they know what's wrong now.
We love her. We love Mocha. I joke a lot, but I do love the cat. I do. In fact, I'm the one who carries her.
Begrudgingly.
She won my heart over. She did. We got home late last night and I was so tired, and then Mocha's of course having more problems and we have to go back to the hospital or to the veterinary hospital, and I'm just sitting here like this.
Just brain dead.
We love you, Mocha. But there will be no justice for you on here. The justice will have to be surviving. We
of course hope that happens.
Yes. All right. Cute of the day.
Speaking of which.
Oh, we're losing. There we go. All right. Bookstore Thor. Willie is all tuckered out after a long day of napping.
That must have been so difficult. Deserved.
You earned it, King.
Yeah.
One more.
Up.
Remember, guys, you can submit your pets. If you like to brag about your pets, you can brag about your pets here by sending them to me on X, tag me in it at Brett Dasovic, and use the hashtag PCCPets.
Thank
Put a pet on.
Put a pet on. I still hear Ian's voice in that.
Party. All right, we'll save this one for Monday, but you guys should submit your pets then. All right, let's talk about it.
Well, maybe once the money guns stop.
That'll be fine. Hold, please.
Okay, I think we're good.
What would Jesus do?
Angel Studios continues winning, and this time they just beat out Disney in pre-sale tickets for their new movie, King of Kings. It has gotten more in pre-sales than Snow White by multiple millions. Either, according to Deadline, $14.6 million in pre-sales, or if you look at a new report from today, $17 million worth of pre-sold tickets compared to only $5 million that were sold for Snow White. And everyone remembers looking at the theaters before Snow White's release date, seeing completely empty seating charts.
Correct.
Nobody was buying pre-sale tickets, and even after the movie came out, is it still showing?
Yes.
By the way,
it is.
Even after it came out, I haven't, been seeing packed theaters. Nothing like what you've seen in the Minecraft theaters.
Correct.
Certainly. But this is a huge win. So we talked about King of Kings back when the trailer came out, I believe.
We did.
And
that
the
video
concept
actually did
for the
really
movie.
well.
It's basically Charles Dickens is your tour guide through the life of Jesus Christ. And it is a kid's movie. So
Starring Mark Hamill.
the cast for this is crazy, I should say. Like, we went over the casting and we were shocked that this was possible. But it made sense once we learned that Angel Studios acquired this after, I believe, a Korean studio produced it originally.
Yes.
They have Pierce Brosnan. Oscar Isaac is voicing Jesus.
Pierce Brosnan is like in the middle of this like crazy career. I mean, his career never stopped, but he's in this career resurgence right now because he's in Mobland right now.
He voiced Pontius Pilate. Oscar Isaac, I actually didn't know, is a Christian. And here's a fun fact. He was involved in a Christian ska band called the Blinking Underdogs in the late 90s and early 2000s. Although the band did not exactly take off.
That's
that was
fine.
Part of his history. They also have Uma Thurman and Kenneth Branagh and Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is actually the voice actor for King Herod. And if you know about Mark Hamill's family life, specifically him calling for the abortion of his grandchild.
Allegedly.
Yes. That, that tracks.
Okay.
King Herod, yeah, that tracks for him. He was method acting. It's fine. Some people actually were offended by the mainstream names that are attached to this project.
It's a lot of them.
Knowing that it's a faith-based film.
Sir Benjamin Kingsley, Forrest Whitaker, a lot of names that you've heard of before.
Yeah. But I saw these tweets from Matthew Marsden. He claims this was a big mistake for Angel Studios to affiliate themselves with a project with this many mainstream names, especially Mark Hamill's. He said, "I'm sure Mark Hamill is happy that he's in the cast. The right in entertainment sucks." One person replied to him saying they hired Mark Hamill to voice King Herod. Seems fitting. And he responded, "This is exactly the problem with the right and why I say over and over that you need to back your own. The left cancels conservatives for their political or religious views. The right says, hey, he might hate you, but he's a great actor, so I'll go watch the movie."
It's literally me.
Unreal.
It's literally me.
Leftist actors, F Trump and MAGA. Hollywood, we still hire you. Conservative movies, we still hire you. Right-wing actors, I love God, leave me alone. Hollywood, we aren't hiring that guy ever again. Conservative studios, he hasn't worked in a while, hire the lefty instead. He thinks this is backstabbing behavior.
Irishimutaru says, did Brett say Sir Forrest Whitaker? No, I said Sir Benjamin Kingsley and Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, Matthew Marsden he's a great actor. Very, very accomplished on TV. He has like one of my favorite episodes of NCIS where he plays a soldier who's been poisoned with like, he's got like radiation poisoning and he's dying slowly throughout the episode. He also is Reacher's dad on the show Reacher.
Was he only in the first season?
I don't remember. I think he's in the first 2 seasons. I don't remember if there's any flashbacks in season 3, but there might have been. It's been like they released week to week and it's been so long since the early episodes of season 3 that I don't remember if there were any flashbacks in season 3.
So he never had to film anything with Alan Richson.
Oh, I don't think so.
He was in flashback scenes. So I imagine they wouldn't get along too well because Alan Richson is Mr. Woke guy. But
even though he is Christian.
I disagree with his point of view here. Because first off, I think he doesn't realize Angel Studios acquired the distribution rights. He might think that Angel Studios created the whole thing.
But that's not what happened.
They didn't have control over who was in the cast by the time it was done.
They would have never gotten all these actors. They wouldn't have been able to afford all these actors.
That is telling enough in and of itself, right? These actors wouldn't have affiliated themselves with an Angel Studios project.
This happened with
had
Letitia
it been
Wright.
Angel Studios from the start.
This happened with Letitia Wright with that movie that she made, and she said, look, they acquired the rights after the fact.
Right.
And then they were like, she had to like answer questions about it.
Right. She had to defend herself because people were saying she was affiliating herself with like religious extremists or something. And she probably wouldn't have signed on to do the movie if it were an Angel Studios project from the get-go. So I think they're smart to be doing that. And it looks like it's going to be a huge success for them in the box office.
Sound of Hope. It was the Sound of Hope. That was the one with Letitia Wright. It was like Sound of Hope creators apologize for missteps with Letitia Wright and defend the Daily Wire. Because I think the Daily Wire was like a co-producer.
Yeah,
on that one, right?
Co-distributor.
Do you remember that? She didn't have to answer for Angel Studios. She had to answer for Daily Wire.
Yeah, and then Sound of Freedom, of course, was Angel Studios, but that was also not Angel Studios from the beginning. That was 20th Century Fox, right?
I love this. It was Disney initially.
No?
It was Disney initially.
It wasn't Fox? Okay.
Yes, it was 20th Century Fox, and then Disney acquired it through their purchase of 20th Century Fox, and then we're going to bury the movie. Not my decision. Sound of Hope's executive producer, Letitia Wright, distances herself from the picture's right-wing promoter, Daily Wire, and distributor, Angel Studios.
And like it or not, more people are going to see something that has mainstream names that they are familiar with on the cover.
Yeah.
You know? So if that is a way that we can get more people to pay attention to these movies that are at least trying to be wholesome and not disgusting for children, then more power to them. I mean, if anything, it puts the actors in an awkward position, and they're going to have to either answer for it or not.
Yeah, and that's always annoying, too, because it's like, if you're an actor, one thing they will all tell you is, like, you don't just, like, only a select few actors ever have the ability to just turn down jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, once you reach a certain level of fame, sure, but most of them, they're going to do whatever work they can get. And it's not going to matter what studio is offering it. And then they're in this industry where they're like, oh, you want a job? Well, you can't take that job or you're never going to get another job afterwards. And that's like putting them in a really, really awkward position.
Well, as far as I can tell, like, Oscar Isaac is not going to be blacklisted in Hollywood because he voiced Jesus in a kid's movie, okay?
Also, there were some funny reviews for this, you said? Like, there was one that said it's too on the nose.
I was looking through some of the reviews. This has a 62% so far from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, but a 97% from the audience. There is no surprise there. But the critics were not easy on them. One of them said it's a 100-minute Sunday school lesson.
It's literally a movie about Jesus.
Variety says that this is visually generic and heavy-handed Christian, and they also say it falls into the faith-based movie trap of putting message before artistry and entertainment value.
Look, that's a perfectly valid critique, and it could happen there. I feel like it's slightly less applicable when it's an actual story about Jesus and not like a story about a family that has religious beliefs or something like that. Like, when you're telling another story that has faith as a backdrop, it's one thing.
Yeah.
But when you're telling an actual story
it's literally
about the faith,
Jesus,
like
it's, oh, we're being too heavy-handed with the Christian themes in a movie about Jesus.
What is that?
Okay.
What is that Christian movie network? There's like it's like Up Family. It's like a faith-based family streaming service. And
I know,
like,
Great American Family.
It's like, well, it's but this one is, I mean, but even that's like just kind of Hallmark. But there's like Up Family. It's like a streaming service that's like faith-based. It's like when, like, to Olivia's, like, when we have kids, we're gonna have to get that so that we can put something on and know for sure that.
Up Family.
Like, I don't want to be the person who has to ask weird, who has to answer weird questions, like the kids who turn on Disney Plus and they're like, "What's dying for sex?"
No, just show your kids only old stuff.
Yeah.
The best part, they won't even know that what you're showing them is old.
I'm going to read this super chat right now just because I don't know if he's going to be here for the rest of the show. JB Spooky Review says, thanks again for the shout out, brother. I'm just glad you're enjoying the videos. No, thank you. And keep making them. I'm coming up on the end of season 3 of the reviews, and I believe it's only up through like I've watched the Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man one, which is in season 4. So then I'm going to be out. I'm going to have made my way through them all. And I already watched the 3.5-hour Buffy retrospective.
Lots of love in the chat
It
today.
is, lots of it. So thank you. Keep up the good work. But yeah, like I think we'd get the faith-based streaming service when we have kids. So that way it's like, sure, most of the time I will curate and just show the movies. But if you want to have at least one where you can hand them a remote and be like, you can watch something on this streaming service and hope to God that it's not something horrible.
Well, I've already decided what my kids are going to watch in the future. It's going to
Kill Bill.
include Mouse and Mole, Kipper the dog,
Okay.
Angelina Ballerina,
Okay.
SpongeBob, and
Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
those, of course, yeah.
Friday the 13th.
Maybe the original, the old like Disney princess movies. Those are good.
Yeah.
But yeah, only old stuff.
But
only
even then,
old
you're gonna have to have physical media, or you're gonna have to go into the streaming
Fine.
service and be like, here, and you put it on.
I
You
mean-
like take the remote from them.
By then, the whole streaming service ecosystem is going to be so complicated anyway. I'd rather use a DVD player.
Yeah.
Another critic from the New York Times said of King of Kings, "It's just the same story. Every beat expected, every moment predetermined." Lady, it's based on a book called the Bible. It's been around for a while now.
Yeah. It's been there.
So you were disappointed that there weren't any big twists?
They were hoping for like an Avengers style team up at the end.
You were waiting for the cameo and the twist and the post-credit scene.
Where's-
Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about,
who would
lady.
who would be the Nick Fury of the Bible? Is there a Nick Fury in the Bible?
I don't know. I would know that if I
who
were
comes in and assembles all of them together? Who assembled all the apostles?
assembles.
Yeah, you gotta
Well, that's
assemble.
Jesus. He assembled
That
them.
he's the Nick Fury of the Bible.
yeah, I guess.
Then I guess we're gonna have to get Samuel L. Jackson to play Jesus next. And I did post this the other day. Like I said, this picture goes super hard. Looks like an album cover. It's like a photo of a photo. But you know, Jesus looks like he's about to drop a beat.
Yeah, they're in the studio. They're in the stew.
All
you
right.
know, the stills from King of Kings look good too, and the trailer, when we watched it, we found it very evocative. I don't know if they just put together all the best parts and it's actually dreadfully boring, but
Apostles assemble. They say.
people are, I think it's a lot of adults who are mad that they didn't enjoy a movie made for kids, and that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Like they're just saying that, you know, parents wouldn't enjoy this because it's too simplistic.
Okay, so here's the thing,
Then
guys.
watch Passion of the Christ. I don't know what to tell you.
If you're looking for something to be white-pilled about, you're in the middle of a bit of a religious revolution when it comes to Hollywood and cinema. Right now, you've got The Chosen, The Last Supper, parts 1, 2, and 3, all of which are doing numbers at theaters. You've got this movie coming out. Mel Gibson is working on Passion of the Christ 2, Electric Boogaloo. I think that starts filming this summer. It's not actually called Electric Boogaloo. Don't worry, guys.
But we wish.
But the point is there is an increased amount of energy and time being put into faith-based entertainment in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Take of that what you will. They're not always going to get it right. In fact, I would probably argue that more often than not, they're going to get it wrong. But you know, if you don't want to risk it and you don't want to risk these people making your entertainment, then there is something to be said about the parallel economy and going out and doing it yourself. It's just that that's a huge endeavor and it costs a lot of money to get stuff like that done. So be sure to check it out. I know that Shane H. Wilder in the chat has really enjoyed House of David.
Yeah,
So
we've heard good things. So
There's
far,
all sorts of
so
stuff going on.
It's kind of a gold rush.
All right, let's do some super chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, "Happy Fish Friday, Brett and Mary. Sorry about Mocha, Dylan, Brett. Oh, Mocha, Dylan, obviously. Mary, Lana Del Rey just dropped a new single, Henry Come On, The Earth is Healing. I haven't listened to it yet. I don't know much about it other than that she chose album art that was screenshotted from her phone with like obvious watermarks because she's so low effort. I don't know what to expect, but yeah.
And as for the Mocha song, Olivia made me listen to it, and I died 3 times and had to be resuscitated.
Can we play
each time.
it?
No.
I want to hear it.
First of all, it's copyrighted music, and so
Oh.
no. And even if it wasn't, we're not doing that. There will be no Bob Dylan
So
on
it
this
was
show.
just like Bob Dylan doing the backing vocals and
Bob
Mocha.
Dylan, and then Mocha's giving some.
Screeching.
No, Mocha is doing the backing vocals with
Oh, I see.
backing screeches, and it's horrible.
Great.
But thank you for the effort, but it did make me want to die.
That would just play on repeat in a special circle of hell for you. Greg Duvier said, Brett, you need to go see The Amateur in theater to prove we want new IP in theaters.
You must be new here because I don't give a crap about new IP. I want the slop. I tell you guys all the time. It's a lie. It is an enormous cope from everyone who's like, we want new stuff all the time, except for they make new movies every year. They put out 10,000 TV shows that are not necessarily slop and nobody watches them. Apple TV loses $1 billion a year with completely original content. It is fiction and the people don't actually believe what they're saying. What they want is Jurassic Park slop with Scarlett Johansson.
Well, maybe if people like you would go, patronize an independent film.
Nah.
That would change.
I'm going to go see The Accountant 2. That's new, kind of, in that it's a sequel.
No.
But it's from a movie that was original at one time.
Not
in 2016.
Doesn't count.
It's also really funny because I was listening to the Jeremy Jahns review of The Amateur, and he goes, and John Bernthal just shows up, and it looks like they just like they were filming Daredevil Born Again right next door, and they're like, can you come and be in this movie for like a couple of scenes? I'm like, no. Actually, what it would have been like is like John Bernthal was filming The Accountant 2 next door, and they're like, hey, can we pluck you out of this for a couple of scenes? John Bernthal is in everything.
Kind of is. He's like a sort of a Pedro Pascal.
He's a good Pedro Pascal.
A good Pedro Pascal.
Everybody likes, like, he's believable.
Yes.
Like, he's like, as a tough guy, he's believable.
Yeah.
I do actually want to call out something though, and I still believe that this is.
Call
out. When I was watching when I was watching A Working Man, at the very beginning of the movie, they do the scene where Levon like stops these guys from beating up one of the employees on his job site, and he pulls a shotgun on them, and he's holding it like this, and it makes no sense because
he's holding it overhanded on the
sideways, and so it still reminds me of that first scene from the original season of The Punisher where Frank Castle is in the hallway and he shoots a guy, and then as he's moving, he keeps moving and he turns it sideways to shoot him. He's not shooting a shotgun at that time. He's shooting like a different long barrel. But the point is like it made sense when he's like moving to turn the weapon sideways to shoot it. And this one, he's just standing still like that, and I'm like, why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, because they don't.
It's supposed to look cool, but it just looks like I'm like. That just looks weird.
They don't do like firearms training.
No, they do. They do extensive firearms training. That's why it's weird that in current year, they're very, very good about how to use a firearm on set. At least they were infinitely better.
You mean using a rubber firearm?
Well, they're very, very good at showing you how to actually hold a firearm rather than how they used to back in the day. No teacupping on the bottom of the grip, stuff like that. But the point was,
unless
is it was
you're
weird.
one of like the gangsters in the show.
Then that makes sense,
then
right?
Then you do the style of.
Olivia gets annoyed because it's like if a law enforcement person isn't holding their gun right, I will point it out, okay? But if like somebody who's not in law enforcement isn't holding it right, I don't call it out because that is believable that they would do that.
Weary Traveler said, "Am I not allowed one Joker moment a year?" No,
yes.
I mean you're allowed. It's fine.
Especially if you pay us for them.
Yeah, only if you pay. But yes, speak your mind. Go ahead. Dull and Tired said, "Happy Friday, fruitcakes." All right.
Thank you. Joe T in the chat says Arnold shoots a sawed-off shotgun on a Harley, no recoil. Yes, that is true, but that was in 1991 or 1992. Whenever Terminator 2 came out, because Terminator 1 was 84.
Jimmy Joe said, as an unemployed film worker in Georgia, all these movies being shot overseas can go right in the toilet as far as I'm concerned. WGA and SAG took their big money contracts and left the rest of us SOL.
They did. I got a question for you, though. Doesn't Georgia have a large number of TV shows shooting in there? I know Tyler Perry's studio is in Atlanta.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
I believe
Georgia's always been a big.
Well, they have that famous logo that shows up at the end of the show with the orange for the Georgia film crest or whatever.
There's that, and there's a lot in North Carolina too.
Yeah.
What else?
I think what was it? Like a lot of those like shows with like families were like I think not Dawson's Creek, but that might have been filmed in North Carolina, but I don't think so. like One Tree Hill was shot in North Carolina. I know like A Walk to Remember, the Nicholas Sparks movie, was shot in North Carolina, and they all like were at the same school.
Interesting.
So my level of knowledge about things that don't matter is vast.
Well, that's why we have you.
I'm sorry, it's a peach, not an orange.
Oh,
Georgia,
right.
Georgia
Yeah.
peach.
Duh.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Duh.
Greg Duvier said, with Mocha going to the ER, I say justice for Mocha.
Oh, they're so mad that I didn't say peach. They're like, it's a peach, Brett.
Oh my goodness.
There's
Do we have people from Georgia who are offended
I
right
hope
now?
so.
Stone Sting sent us a 20. Matthew Marsden is also a regular on Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered over on Blaze TV.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he like still
He's still working
regularly, or is he more into like the commentary space?
I think he's still working a lot, and he's got a YouTube channel and stuff that he's launching and stuff that he talks about regularly. But he does great
We wanted
work.
to have him on the show. I think a while back we might have reached out.
Never
but
got her back from
didn't hear
him.
Back. Yeah.
We're not important enough.
I guess we're just not important.
That's
like
okay.
Sarah Gonzalez.
That's okay.
It's
Sarah
fine.
Gonzalez is cool.
It's fine.
She was on like a Friday episode of IRL with Alex Stein, and she was making fun of the way he was saying the
Saying what?
what was it? the what was the gang that was taking over the apartments in
What?
the street gang that was taking over the apartment complexes? Do you remember that?
No.
Okay.
I
He
must have memory held that.
Alex Stein was apparently saying it in a very white manner, and she was making fun of him for that.
He's allowed.
Yeah.
I'll
All right.
defend him for that.
Let's move on.
Lily Phillips recently sat down for a tell-all interview on BBC Newsnight with Victoria Derbyshire, and they talked about her childhood, her launching her OnlyFans, her beliefs about the culture and young people and sexism and pornography and the online space, the hate she receives. It was an all-encompassing conversation, and nothing of value was said. But inadvertently, Lily Phillips admitted the real reason behind her attraction to this line of quote-unquote work that she does. And in case you, for some reason, hadn't heard yet, Lily Phillips is one of the 2 famous British OnlyFans stars who have vowed to sleep with insane amounts of men and film it for content. She slept with over 100 men. On the other hand, Bonnie Blue slept with over 1,000 men for her OnlyFans. It's turned into a trend in and of itself, and they are 2 of the most controversial women in the internet sphere, but also in their own country because they have such an insular culture in the UK. Mm-hmm. She has risen to such prominence in her country that I think that as Americans, we won't understand it. There's no one really like that here. I think we just have all the mainstream celebrities that we talk about, but in the UK, she is turned into a local celebrity for the fact that she is a porn star. So this was the revelation that came out and went viral the most. The issue of young people accessing online pornography via smartphones is one that politicians and parents around the world are grappling with. And now, in an interview, Lily Phillips reveals that she first watched pornography at 11 years old, and she says it may be linked to how she now earns her living. So let's take a look at this clip where she gets questioned about that.
I probably watched pornography first when I was maybe 11. And so
If it ends up freezing, I'm going to take it out of full screen, but we'll try it this way.
I've always known about it. I've always knew it was a thing. And I always thought it was very normal to watch.
Right. But if you started watching it at 11,
Yeah.
I mean, that is so young.
Yeah.
And you say it's normal. Can you describe how it has influenced you and your brain and your outlook on sex?
You know what? It actually made me really sex confident and learn a lot of things. I mean, that's mostly how I learned through pornography. And I do think it has a positive effect on me, just in terms of like understanding things a little bit more.
Right. But as we know, what we see in pornography online can be extreme. Is not normal.
It depends what type of pornography you're watching. That's what I would say.
Okay. And when you look back and reflect on the fact that you had access to this pornography and were looking at it from the age of 11, and not just you, any Gen Z who's got a smartphone,
Yeah.
does that suggest to you that maybe your generation has been let down by politicians or the tech companies or even parents?
I think it's hard because sex is a part of life, and I don't
But
think
not when you're 11.
Well, I think you should be learning from it from that age. I do believe that, because that's when you start to think about things
Yeah.
like that.
But learning
Yes, she actually just said that.
Maybe not
via
learning,
pornography?
yeah, maybe not learning from pornography, but I do think understanding it more from that age would be helpful.
Is there a direct link between you watching pornography as you grew up and the decisions you've made to do what you do now?
I think maybe. I mean, I don't know a life without pornography, so maybe.
Okay.
So before she was caught in her own words, she said that she believes 11-year-olds, possibly children even younger, ought to learn about sex from pornography, and she claims this is primarily how she learned about sex. And of course, I mean, this has an effect on her brain long term. And of course, this has something to do with the fact that she was attracted to this as a quote unquote career path. Now, earlier in the interview, toward the very beginning, she is asked about her upbringing. And this was the most strange part of the interview by far, stranger than this, because she tells Victoria Derbyshire, the interviewer, that she had a perfect childhood, that her parents were perfect. They did nothing wrong in raising her. They raised her perfectly. Her upbringing was perfect. Okay. She actually used that word. She said her upbringing was perfect. 0 issues, 0 trauma. And when I hear someone emphatically state something like that, I find it incredibly hard to believe, especially knowing who she is now, of course, but also because even people who did have a good upbringing are not going to sit there and tell you that it was perfect. No one who had a good upbringing and a wholesome, intact family is going to tell you that they had a perfect upbringing and that their parents never did anything wrong.
Okay.
No one would say that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You mean you
Like,
feel like it's
as childhoods go, I had a pretty good one, but it was not perfect. I would not sit there and say that it was perfect. So her saying that
do you think
sounds
that
like she's overcompensating for something, that she's lying, that she is exaggerating so that people will get off her back, because everyone, of course, asks her about her childhood, wondering why she's so messed up in the head today. And she's hoping she can just put those rumors to rest by claiming she had a perfect childhood. No one believes that. She exhibits all the signs of someone who was groomed or possibly even abused, and at the very least, as her own admission, exposed to pornography from an extremely young age. Mm-hmm. And that says everything you need to know about why she made the decision she started making later on in life. And I know she doesn't look it, but she actually is Gen Z and has the experience of having a smartphone as a child. And this is something that is still unprecedented and needs to be talked about. And she thinks that she's offering some kind of wisdom. And it's just nonsense. Like, everything she's saying, I don't even know if she knows how stupid it sounds. But I saw this comment on the full interview where someone said, rightly or wrongly, Lily Phillips is becoming the acceptable face of porn and of OnlyFans because she is well-spoken and upper middle class. That's the truth. Because she's not ghetto and she doesn't have tattoos and she doesn't do drugs and she has a posh accent and she dresses well and she's able to be professional in a setting like this on national television.
I mean, that's existed within the American industry for years. There are examples of the women in the industry who went on to be very, very mainstream, work in Hollywood. And
well, then who has been the acceptable face of pornography? before her?
In America, I don't know. I don't know what the answer would be. I just know that
I don't think that is a thing that's existed.
The point being that she's working for herself then and not the industry at large. Like, I guess, I mean, I don't even know if acceptable is the word, because it's not like people are looking at this as something to aspire to. Even the interviewer doesn't look at this as something to aspire to. The interviewer is calling into question everything she's saying.
We have a 20 from St. Miles. Can we say she is a groomer? I mean, I do think that she knows children see her content and she's fine with that. And I think that groomed people groom people. I'm sad to say that is a common occurrence, that there is a link there. And just as soon as she started talking about her early exposure to pornography, the interviewer mentioned Billie Eilish's public comments on that. So I wanted to harken back to her comment about getting exposed to pornography and how it changed her brain chemistry for the worse.
I mean, are we talking just like physical sex scenes here? Because in America, Playboy and that type of stuff was, those magazines were unbelievably mainstream all through the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s until sex-negative feminism made it not okay.
Well, the difference between static images on a page and 4K high-speed internet pornography in the era that Lily Phillips is talking about, it's so different. Like, it's so stark that it barely even needs to be explained. Like,
the point is that this was a long time coming, and it's not like this is anything new. There was the lady who did in like 2008, the woman who parodied Sarah Palin and was very mainstream and did talk shows and stuff like that.
I didn't know that.
That was a thing. And then we're talking 2 decades ago now, or not 2 decades ago, but 15 years ago now.
I mean, I think that you at that time still would have been seen as like some kind of freak show, and like Lily Phillips is.
You don't think that people look at Lily Phillips like a freak show?
On the internet, yes, but she is still like in a situation like this being spoken to as a spokesperson for her industry.
Okay, well, here we go. This is Billie Eilish.
As a woman, I think porn is a disgrace, and I used to watch a lot of porn, to be honest. I started watching porn when I was like 11. I thought that's how you learn.
Why is it 11? Both examples. Why is that?
How to have sex. I was watching abusive porn, to be honest. You know, when I was like 14. And I, thought I was one of the guys and would talk about it and think it was really cool for not having a problem with it and not seeing why it was bad. And I think it really destroyed my brain. And I feel incredibly devastated that I was exposed to so much porn. I think that I had like sleep paralysis and these like almost like night terror / just nightmares because of it. I think that's how they started, because I would just watch abusive BDSM. I couldn't watch anything else, like unless it was violent. I'm so angry that porn is so loved. As a woman,
so
I think porn is a
that was the quote that was read out loud to Lily Phillips in this interview, and Lily Phillips was like, yeah, I don't know, I guess like everybody is different or whatever. Like, she was just like, I really think she's not that bright, and she has no idea the impact that she's having.
I don't think she would care even if she did.
No. And then Victoria Derbyshire, the interviewer, shared a little op-ed that was about their interview later in, I think it was the next day. And it was what Lily Phillips tells us about porn. And it's by Sarah Ditum, I believe, at the Times. She says, most unexpectedly, Lily Phillips accepted that there was 100% a link between the explosion of pornography and the rise of misogynist manosphere content as represented by Andrew Tate. For Lily Phillips, the quote, red pill men are the opposite extreme of her own work. It's worth noting, though, that Andrew Tate obviously made money off of the porn industry himself. Everything around Lily Phillips, OnlyFans, Red Pill, content creation, YouTube, makes her feel like a new phenomenon born out of the technology of today. But this discussion was really old-fashioned feminism. Can an act as intimate and vulnerable as sex really be considered work, or is it inevitably exploitative? Phillips might not want my sympathy, but she has it. These are her choices, but they're choices made within an industry that extracts a good profit from her willingness to take excruciating risks to her body and her psyche. And if she chose not to, she'd just be another OnlyFans girl competing for attention. And they say, I'm grateful to Lily Phillips for her candor. When I texted my 18-year-old daughter to say I was doing Newsnight, she too had thoughts about Lily Phillips. After seeing her break character crying in the YouTube documentary, my daughter and her friends are less convinced that sex work can be liberating in the way its proponents claim. If Lily Phillips is getting that message across, she might be a feminist hero after all. So there's the silver lining in all of it, right?
She was an unintended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, that YouTube documentary probably did more work to convince people not to support OnlyFans or start OnlyFans than any talking head that was just making the points.
Results of your actions will do more to sway people than any argument ever could.
Yeah. And it was interesting how they tried to get her to address, like, the manosphere in the interview. Like, she was saying that she thinks pornography is good for society. She thinks that it's good for children, and she thinks that it's educational and empowering. But she also thinks that it's linked to misogyny.
Weird how that works.
Make it make sense. I don't understand. This is why I think that Lily Phillips just isn't that smart. Like, people...
I mean, are there people saying that she's smart?
Yes.
Okay.
No, because when we were initially covering the 100 guys stunt, people were saying, oh, this is all like 4D chess on her part. She was planning for this to happen. She was fake crying. She's trying to extract sympathy from you to get her name out there. And it was like all a plan. And she's this mastermind behind the scenes, pulling the strings. And the more I have heard from Lily Phillips, the more I believe this woman is just literally not that bright. And
so she fell into a successful business model?
Yeah, I don't think it has a lot to do with her being some kind of calculating business genius. I think that she's just unintentionally become a spokesperson for something that's really disgusting and destructive to society, and she happens to also be a victim of it. Now she's a perpetrator.
Okay, let's go to some super chats.
Greg Duvier said, Hollywood removes the ability for character development from a good character because they would rather do a destruction of a character than zero to hero.
I would rather they just left the character alone and addressed the fact that, you know what, he's kind of a hound when it comes to the ladies, but that doesn't necessarily make him evil. He just, he hits on the ladies, and they either turn him down or they accept his advances.
They can do like a player character who isn't a
Correct.
rapist. Like, that's possible. Shane H. Wilder said, speaking of Wes Craven, My Soul to Take is highly underrated. I suggest everyone give it a watch.
I have not seen it.
Shane H. Wilder, Chris Pratt might be becoming Catholic curious after spending so much time with Mark Wahlberg doing the Mark Wahlberg 40-day challenge.
Maybe that's what's his own journey. His journey.
Interesting.
The funny thing is after you talked about that, Olivia mentioned Mocha's health journey, and I was like, we were just making fun of journeys yesterday.
Yeah, everything has to be a journey.
If it's a woman, it's a journey.
My weight loss journey, my sex journey, my OnlyFans
100
journey,
guys in one day journey.
Yeah. Everything has to be a damn journey.
Do one more.
Pete Donovan said, I want my PCC.
Well, you have your PCC.
You have it.
All right. Let's move on then, shall we? Okay. All right, guys, if you don't know, it's been a controversial week of sorts for Donald Trump with all of the stuff going on with tariffs. He's also gotten involved in the Hollywood industry once again because those tariffs are going to potentially affect his America's ability to get movies in the Chinese box office. But it's not just that aspect of Hollywood that he is interfering with. Now, apparently, there are whole ass comedians who think that they shouldn't come to America, or they're scared to come to America because they have made comments about Donald Trump in their home country.
Yes. An Australian comedian named Alice Fraser has made jokes about Trump in the past, jokes at his expense. And she says in a recent interview with The Guardian that she was given legal advice not to go on a planned trip to New York because I guess that she would be stopped from entering the country.
Is the idea here
she would
that
be banned from the U.S. for making fun of our president?
I mean, I'm seeing people saying that they need to deport Elon. Those seem like the people that want to deport people to me.
Well, isn't Elon already a citizen?
I don't think they care. I don't think they care.
Okay,
they
never
want to
mind.
deport him anyways. Yeah, so she said that she was planning to visit for work, right? She wanted to get an Obi-Wan visa.
So she says she had canceled a planned trip to the U.S. after receiving advice that she could be stopped at the border due to her previous jokes about the Trump admin. She was due to head to New York in the first week of May to promote her recently published book. She planned to apply for an O-1B visa, which permits comedians to live and work in the U.S. if they demonstrate extraordinary ability in the arts. But now that we've heard that, maybe we should take a look at an example of her extraordinary ability.
Can somebody also tell me who she looks like?
She does look familiar.
I can't place it, and it's been bothering me all day.
I thought the same thing.
I can't place it.
Gosh.
Okay. All right. Let's listen. We got a 20 here from the Manic Mustache.
The Manic Mustache said, late as usual, but apropos to Johnny losing his blaze, I have never catcalled a lady, but my mustache catcalled an undercover cop back in '97. She thought it was cute that a 12-year-old had such outspoken facial hair. STMF. Stay toxic, my friends.
It was like, what was it the other day when I sent you the article about how they're getting rid of the bikini portion of beauty pageants. Instead, they're going to show how good they are at CPR. And it made me think of what's his name from The Sandlot, where he pretends to drown so that Wendy Peppercorn can give him CPR. Yeah. Not good. That is assault, gentlemen. You can't do that.
I'm trying to figure out who this is too, but this is her extraordinary work
on
stage.
Please tell me who she looks like. And
this is the O-1B visa. This is who it's for.
Betty Gilpin. That might be right. Okay, let's listen to this.
Men are rational and women are hormonal. Men are rational, women are hormonal. I'm like, mate, you know you have hormones too. Like, of course, women have hormones. Men also have. If you do not believe that men have hormones, wait outside a pub on a Saturday night. Just wait for two men to roll out and having some fist fight about something neither of them cares about. No one ever got 3 punches into that fight and was like, oh, actually, good point. Logically consistent, my good man. I like to go up to those men outside pubs on a Saturday night and be like, a bit hormonal, are we? A little bit hysterical, boop. And then you run, you've got to run. He's always doing.
I laughed.
Yeah, that's the incredible comedy that is being barred from entry into this country.
Well, okay, so is the idea here that you have to...
Thank you.
That extraordinary abilities, like, what does that qualify? Like, that's a subjective-ass thing to say.
Yeah, I don't know. But here's what she told The Guardian. She says, I sought advice from an immigration lawyer. I asked what I thought was a ridiculous question, that I do political satire and have a few fair jokes floating around on Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and whether that would be a risk. I thought I was being paranoid, but she said it might pose a risk, and they'd almost certainly Google me. She said while the vast majority of people will be able to travel in and out, they're definitely doing increased scrutinizing. If I didn't have 2 children, I might be more open to taking a risk, but the vision of me being there with a baby strapped to me and held up and hassled or worse, I am not up for that. And one immigration law group says the U.S. government is relying on social media screening more and more during the vetting process to gather extensive information, noting an online presence offers insights into their associations and potential security concerns. How would you, making jokes at Trump's expense, be a security concern?
I mean, literally,
unless you were joking about violence.
People, he constantly panders to people that don't like him, like the news networks, and he actually wants everyone to like him, but they don't. And Hollywood releases endless stories every day about how much they hate Donald Trump and how much they hate Elon Musk. I did like the Betty Gilpin comparison.
No, but it wasn't that.
But that wasn't who I was thinking of, because it had more to do with her curly hair. And I can't think of who it was.
Is it the girl from Harry Potter?
No.
No?
Anyways, I don't know what it means to exercise extraordinary ability. Would that be rated by like your follower count?
Yeah.
Would that be related to like the amount of money you've made?
Well, if it's by follower count, I checked her pages and it's not up there. But, okay, this is what people thought the H-1B was, and they were referring to bringing the best and the brightest.
Yes.
That is not what is covered by the H-1B visa. It's covered by the O-1B visa.
So we need her to get an H-1B visa and come here. Like, so she needs to get Vivek Ramaswamy to sponsor her visa,
right,
to come make bad jokes.
Perfect.
I love it.
I mean, okay, I just think that women get a lot of shit for like not being good at stand-up comedy, as if that's the only form of comedy.
No, they're the best satirists there are online.
Yeah.
Me and you have had this discussion endlessly. Like, the best satire on Instagram is done by women.
There are plenty of funny women who just do basically skit content online, and they don't thrive in the stand-up comedy space. Very few do.
They understand what it is that makes women, like the aspects of women's personalities that are incongruous and make people laugh. The difference is it's not there to drive home a point. It's like when I show the videos of the lady who says like your yoga teacher that just got out of rehab. There's something that you just innately understand about the type of woman that she's portraying.
Because they're good at reading people.
Correct.
And that could be valuable for stand-up comedy, but as you could see from that clip, I mean, all she was doing with that one bit is saying that men are emotional and women aren't.
And I will tell you right now that the reason that articles like this are getting made has nothing to do with caring about this woman, and more to frame Donald Trump as somebody who would potentially silence dissenters because they want to create a form of mass hysteria.
No, there's no evidence.
Correct.
To suggest that.
Which makes me laugh. It really, really does. But here's the thing. If she's smart, she will write a comedy bit about not coming to America and something about immigration.
Mm-hmm.
If she's smart, if she knows what she's doing. But look,
just make it up. Just lie.
It gets worse. It's really, really funny too, because so after Trump put the tariffs in place on China, China has decided, they didn't give an exact number, but they did say that they're going to moderately reduce the amount of American movies. So right now, James Cameron is probably paying out of pocket to make sure that Avatar, Fire and Ash. I almost said Fire and Ice. Sorry, George. R.R. Martin can't get his damn book done. Winds of Winter. So he's going to make sure that Avatar comes out because they need that money from Avatar. And I was actually reading some articles earlier about when we were covering the stuff on King of Kings, because they were talking about like, why are you covering this stuff about King of Kings and not the stuff about the tariffs potentially affecting box offices in China? Because of there's been whole marketing teams that have been working on the release of films in China for like the last year. But Thunderbolts has already secured its Chinese release. I am sure Avatar has already secured its Chinese release. But none of it matters because Trump just said he doesn't care.
Right.
It made me laugh.
They asked him about this in a press conference.
China retaliated today by reducing the number of American films that can be shown there. What's your reaction to them now targeting cultural exports from the United States?
I think I've heard of worse things.
He's undefeatable. What
a guy.
He doesn't care.
Like, every time that I see a clip of him, my love just swells in my chest all over again. Like I said, he brings out my worst. He brings out my worst
instincts, which is like, I love how much he much in the way that I love David Zaslav, because everybody in Hollywood hates David Zaslav because he's no nonsense. He's cutting budgets. He's saving his studio money, and he makes all of the pretentious art nerds angry. And I love that. Like, I love that for him and myself. Like, just today, they released like the numbers. Let me see if I can even pull it up here about like David Zaslav's new contract.
So he gave himself a raise, right?
I mean, I'm sure it's approved of by the board.
But yeah, the threat that China was going to completely boycott Hollywood and not import any U.S. films was just that. It was just a rumor. They put out an official statement from the China Film Administration saying the wrong action of the U.S. government to abuse tariffs on China will inevitably further reduce the domestic audience's favorability towards American films. We will follow the market rules, respect the audience's choice, and moderately reduce the number of American films imported. See, that doesn't that just sound like emotional blackmail?
Yeah, it does.
They're saying, oh, Chinese people don't like Americans anymore, so I guess that they don't want to see your films.
Exactly.
I guess that they just won't get to see your films because they don't even want them.
It made me
Oops.
laugh.
You angered the Chinese people, Trump. It's
Last-
a weird way to word it.
So here's the thing. Last year in China, they brought in $585 million, which comes out to about 3.5% of their $17.71 billion Chinese box office. So, oh darn, we're not going to be watching the 3% of our box office that we were giving you every year. And then they're just bullying. I just want to point this out. This is what David Zaslav says. He got a 4% raise to $52 million. And they make sure you know that number so that they can make you angry at it.
I hope that he has a good security team because people really hate him.
I love it. I
He
love that
riles
the
people up.
same way that they get mad at Trump for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
Makes me
But
laugh.
he's not as out there, like, front and center.
No, he's not. Well, I mean, that's the point, right? Is I love it. Like, they're like every picture of him. When you look up his name on Google, it's all like him in like Columbia jackets, looking at he's like a chalet in Aspen. He always looks somewhere rich. Like, he looks like he just got off of a very expensive private flight in very expensive.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Trump has never been seen in a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not ashamed to look rich and be rich.
I love it. It makes
But
me laugh.
people don't like that these days.
It's I love this one. It says I decided to look up Discovery. Under David Zaslav's leadership, he has led to significant financial gains for the company, including cost-cutting measures, saving them in the low $100 million range, and that was like last year before. He saved them much more since then.
That's like more than Doge has cut from the federal budget.
No. They've saved like $1
that's
trillion
literally
or
true.
something, right? How much has Doge saved? I have no idea. I haven't been paying attention to that.
I've paid enough attention to know that they have not gotten even close to $1 trillion, let alone.
I don't know how much it is.
let alone $1
100
billion.
million? A billion? I don't know. Somebody in the chat let us know.
No bees.
The point is, that, you're not going to be kept out of America because you disliked Donald Trump. If anything, it would be
No.
because you don't apply for
I thought they were self-deporting.
well, maybe not the comedians.
Comedians go live in Ireland with Rosie O'Donnell.
All right. Well, did you see the story with her and her, her adopted daughter? Oh, it's so sad.
What happened?
They just had a really tumultuous relationship, and the daughter has a history of drug problems. Like, moved back in with her biological mom years ago, and just recently Rosie O'Donnell cut her out of the will.
Damn.
And it's just the whole thing is really sad.
That is really sad. I had no idea.
Yeah. All right, let's finish these super chats.
Pete Donovan said, "Money for Gongo, super chats for free."
Well, we'll give the money to the Gongo.
Don't worry, the super chat revenue goes straight to the
Comatose says over 400 billion and counting verified for Doge.
What is it?
400 billion. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a whole lot in America, but it's more than we would have saved before.
That doesn't sound
500 billion
believable.
and counting, says ToxMod.
According to whom?
Their site.
Oh, well.
Well, I mean, who are you looking for a confirmation from that you'd believe?
I don't know. I just don't believe anything anymore.
Rhaegar says over 130 billion.
Okay, then all of you have different numbers, so where are they all coming from? Now I'm even more confused. High Voltage 75 said, "What's the point of the money guns if we can't see the money fly across the screen anymore?"
That is a fair point.
Well, we didn't realize it was going to be like that when we moved into this new studio. But, you know, that now it's like the positioning of the money gun is kind
in
of
relation
a
to the
dilemma.
cameras. Yeah.
Because the camera is so much farther away from me than it was before.
It would be funny to put it on the ceiling
And
have
for
it
you as well.
fall on us.
I don't know.
Like, it's not on us, but in front of us.
I don't know what the solution should be, but I mean, maybe we'll figure it out eventually. Maybe we could put them on the walls. Could we put the
Somebody
money
was
guns
like,
on
you
the
should have
walls?"
like CGI money. I'm like, bro, I don't think you understand how things are done here.
No. No. Corey Anderson said, Mary, when you dropped the F slur, it was hot. The chat was out of pocket yesterday because I have been deployed and couldn't super chat Brett looking handsome.
I don't think you said the F slur yesterday.
It was on IRL on the
on
after
the post
show.
show.
You know what? As soon as I said it, I regretted it because I knew that there were just going to be a bunch of simps who thought that it was like quirky or something. And I was like, no, like I hate all of you. And that's just my life. I just say words like that. And it's not performative. I don't have to dance like a monkey on the internet saying offensive things for attention.
She does. She says
This
offensive
is my
things all the
life.
time.
Yeah, this
if you
is
guys
my
could
actual
only,
life.
If you guys could only be here during the day when we're doing pre-production.
Yeah, it's that and worse.
There's a 20 there from Not That Jon Stewart.
Where is it?
It's right. You got the.
I don't have
pulled
it on the spreadsheet.
Says SODE has saved. I don't know what SODE is. That like the
Is that a
government
typo?
designation for Doge?
I don't know.
Has saved 360 billion according to
306. He said. Not
306 billion according to what is that? USDE. I don't know what any
Debt
of that.
clock.
It looks like bet clock.
Doge. Sorry, he said.
Oh, US debt clock. Okay, thank you. It's all one word.
Okay. But now I've heard at least 5 different figures for what Doge has saved to the government. So I don't know. I have no idea. You all just said like 5 different numbers. Where are they coming from? None of them are real.
There's another one
Like,
from Jon Stewart. It says Doge. Sorry.
I
Thank
don't
you.
believe you. I don't believe you. JB's spooky review. Oh, you already read
Yeah,
that one
and
earlier.
thank you, JB's
Brett.
spooky review. I'm going to be listening to more when I get home tonight. My favorite part of every episode is when he finishes with the actual review, and then he talks about the guest stars of that episode and stories from the directors and the writers of the episode who have written either books, or he takes them from stuff that's talked about the X-Files, giving their unique perspectives on that particular episode. That's my favorite part of every episode.
Is it always spooky?
It's always spooky. Stay spooky.
Shane H. Wilder said, I plan on taking my mom out to see King of Kings when I see her over Easter weekend. I've heard that while it is for kids, it doesn't pull punches. I don't know what that means, but okay.
My other favorite part...
I want to see Jesus casting out demons.
There you go.
In the kids' movie. How about that?
And not played by Russell Crowe as a priest.
No. Man, that movie sucked.
Which one? Didn't you do 2?
The Pope's Exorcist.
No.
I forget what the other one was called, but it was something really similar.
It was like the Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah.
One was Pope's Exorcist. The other one was there was the
Exorcist Pope's the.
There was Suicide Squad and then the Suicide Squad. One was Pope's Exorcist and the other one was the Pope's Exorcist.
And they both have almost identical posters.
And my other favorite part about those videos about the X-Files is when he does the thing called Scully tells someone she's a medical doctor, which she does in like every episode.
Instead of a what?
Well, she is an FBI agent, but somebody always has to say something. She's like, I know because I'm a medical doctor.
Weary Traveler said they thought Jesus was going to team up with Mithras at the end and fight the evil cosmic entities.
Well, it's Galactus. Like, I don't know what they're doing for it, but it's going to be interesting to watch.
The Evil Time Wizard said Angel Studios is making a live-action adaptation of Fablehaven. It was my favorite book series when I was a kid. Also, hi, Brett.
Hello.
Thought I heard something about an adaptation of Left Behind. Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
You ever hear about that book series?
Mm-mm. Everything's an adaptation of a book
was it called
series.
that? Now I feel like I'm losing my mind. It's about the rapture, basically. So it's the people who are left behind after the rapture.
Oh.
Yeah, 16 novels. Wonder if that's gotten adaptation yet. Yurishima Otaru said Samuel Jesus appears behind Oscar Isaac Peter and says, "My name is Jesus of Nazareth. I'm putting together a team."
He could do that.
It's just Avengers.
I would love
Apostles.
it. I would look. Could somebody? Okay, somebody needs to get that screen culture guy to cut together a King of Kings trailer that looks like the Avengers Infinity War trailer.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
I want to see it. Alvin McGoth said, "Does Tim pay Brett in pierogies?"
Are pierogies like Polish or something?
I think so.
I don't know. I don't care. And no. I mean, like, I don't care.
I mean,
like,
it wouldn't hurt.
Like, I don't, like, my family didn't lean into the tropes of whatever being Croatian and Polish were. Except
Do
for
you like pierogies, though?
I don't think I've ever eaten one.
You really should. They're so good.
Like, the closest we got to that was, like, my grandpa would listen to polka.
They're just potato-y, cheesy goodness. They're actually, like, perfect for you because you have such an unsophisticated palate.
Thank you for that. I appreciate
But
that.
you would love it. And it's your heritage, you know? Shane
Perhaps.
H. Wilder said, "Mary, I tagged you in the Mocha Dylan on Twix. Watch it after the show to annoy Brett again. I had to listen to Mocha for 30 minutes to sync the audio."
You didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, that's on you, Shane, but still, I mean, I understand. And I will be playing it on full volume for Brett. Pete Donovan said Brett's facial reaction to Lily Phillips was perfect. Yeah. I mean, I do kind of like seeing you.
I mean, that's because I
get
don't
exasperated.
I don't submit myself to this content unless it's on the show. And, like, there's a reason why I make a dark joke like a Horigin story, because I don't normally interact with this type of content. So when I do, it's usually against my will and live on air.
Shane H. Wilder said, "If you are learning about sex from Korn, then it is no wonder you have a poor understanding of relationship and the sexual act." Yes, well said. P. Donovan said, "T-shirt idea. Please like my airplane pretzels." Yeah, we're not going to do that one.
With just a big picture of a pretzel
though.
behind it.
Shane H. Wilder said, "My Don't Stop Believin' journey. I'm sorry, I'll get my coat and see myself out." Red Snow said, "I am the Gorok upon which my enemies are broken. My fellow Total War nerds know what's up. Also, MPGA, make pretzels great again."
Pretzels.
Make them great again.
Well then, Red Snow, are you going to go see that movie Warfare?
Is it based on God of War?
No. No, it's not a God of War. It's a movie based on actual war.
Total War. Rather.
It's people. I might go see Warfare.
Weary Traveler said, "Maui, can I have Junior Mwints and a soda during the 2-hour and 2-minute move tonight?"
I feel like you would.
Do you mean a movie? If it's a movie, then that's acceptable. That's fine.
Yeah.
If it's a plane, you don't.
2 hours in a movie? Eat away. 2 hours on a plane? Starve, loser.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
That's what Mary's saying.
If you're at a movie, you have full license to eat whatever you want. How about that? Well, maybe not fried chicken, but I have also done that. I have actually brought fried chicken into a movie theater.
Of course you did.
Because I'm unhinged. I fit like an entire Chick-fil-A meal in my purse once with the drink. Yeah, didn't even spill.
Amazing.
I'm an expert at this. Shane H. Wilder said, "Women are great at sketch comedy. Listen to Lily Tomlin's stand-up. It is character-driven sketch comedy. It would suck if it were traditional stand-up." Yeah, I don't know why it is, but like female stand-up comedians just are way hit or miss. Thank you. We have a 20 from I See All. I've said this before in previous super chats, and I'll say it again. Y'all need to do a PCC uncensored behind a paywall, just like Timcast IRL. I would gladly pay for that every month. Have a nice weekend, y'all.
Thank you.
Well, now at this point, with Tim's after show being on Rumble for the premium subscribers, I would guess if we did the same, it would also be on Rumble, but I don't know.
It would be a whole thing that has to get figured out.
Yeah. Yeah, go tell Tim, actually.
Yeah.
You'd have more luck telling him that you want that.
Yep.
Adam said, Mary, would you go on a journey with me to watch The King of Kings? I'll get the Pwetzel.
What about the popcorn?
I've had enough.
And you're not doing this. You're supposed to be doing this when you do it.
I'll get the Pwetzel. Yeah. No, I won't. Thank you. I'll pass on that. Omega Red Fan said, I'll never forget in 2009 or 2010, the thumbnail, John Cena turns heel. I clicked it and got rickrolled. Back when that was funny.
Wait, wasn't there like some really, really bad look where like the U.S. government did a rickroll this year?
Yeah, about the Epstein files.
Yeah, that was not good.
Like, it was a bad look because you're making a joke out of
something
trafficking
very
children, but you're also using a meme that hasn't been funny or in vogue in like 15 years.
Yeah.
Like, you're not cool. The Chow guy said, why do some people still wear N95s? It's 2025 and Koof is long over for most of the world. It's a dead horse, but some people refuse to move on.
So I was just reading this article about how the guy, Noah Weil, he was in ER for years. He was in The Librarians in the movie series The Librarian. He does that show on HBO Max called The Pit, which is very popular right now. It's another medical show. He just did like a whole article where talking about like, when are we going to accept that masks worked? Everyone's like, what year is it?
Bruh. Get with the times. Yeah, they wear it because they're insecure, because they are sociopathic. They have, just personality traits that you want to stay far away from. And anyone who wants to walk around society hiding their face from other people is distrustworthy. They're also hypochondriacs.
I feel like that's a big one.
It's
like
both. It's highly neurotic behavior.
There were a lot of people who were probably already hypochondriacs that had their brains absolutely demolished by what happened in 2020, and we're seeing the long-term effects of that now.
Not that Jon Stewart said SODE is the main charity I use to help the Gongo. Common mistake.
Fair point.
No worries. Alejandro Reyes said, I fully believe Mary curses like Mel Gibson off air while Brent is the most demure. No, Brett is not demure off camera. That's the thing. People don't know how dark your sense of humor really is.
They never will.
It doesn't come out on the show. But I do wish sometimes that you could witness it. It's just never going to happen because YouTube is gay.
Pretty much.
Pete Donovan said, Brett, someone from National Review was a guest on Stu Does America last night to discuss why work-life balance is bad. You would really enjoy it.
Yeah, probably.
You think work-life balance is bad?
I think that it's a whole cope from society. And
why is it? What is
I
it?
have no.
Wait, what is it a cope for?
I have no. Okay, so back in the day, the strong work ethic was also rewarded with the fact that you were going to get something tangible out of it, like a home as you built a family, right? Now, having strong work ethic does not have the same tangible results as readily accessed as like if you want to work really hard, own a home and get ahead, you can still do it, but it's not as easy to achieve, or at least as easy to view as achievable as it was back in the day, right? What our grandparents and parents called pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And you know what? Just go on set and turn in your application, turn in your job application, and
give
tell
a
them
firm handshake.
Exactly, give them a firm handshake. Like I get it, but I feel like a lot of the time that I always come back to like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Like, so you're not going to own a home, so you're not going to work home. Okay, I get it. But then you're still complaining about how you're not going to own a home. I feel like you reserve the right to complain about it if you're working really hard and you're not achieving it. But if you're not working really hard and not achieving it, then what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah, but also like depends who you ask what hard work is, what qualifies as hard work.
And look, people work really, really long, crazy hours just to get by now, and I get it. But I guess whenever these things come up, it's kind of the same way that I have. I would give the same argument to the people who would blame the boomers for everything, even if I fundamentally agree with them. And when they talk about what they did to the economy, I'm like, okay, so what are we gonna do about it? We've figured out and attributed who we think is responsible for it. What are we going to do about it? Are we going to lobby for policy change? Are we going to go do something in our own lives to make sure that doesn't happen to us? I don't know. But again, and I'm just spitballing here and kind of complaining, and it kind of makes me hypocritical. But whenever it happens, I'm just like, well, what do you want me to do about it? Like,
That's a good question.
It feels like a form of learned helplessness.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Shane H. Wilder said, I missed this 20. Willem said, tagged you all on Insta vid from Almost Friday TV. That's a hilarious bit about password sharing. Lulled a bit. Skull for the Gongo and Murica. Okay. Thank you. Shane H. Wilder. What were you saying?
Go ahead.
Shane H. Wilder said, I watched the Left Behind movie because it was Nick Cage. It was meh. Then again, I don't believe in the rapture anyway. Yeah, neither do I. It's not all that compelling, but it's a thought experiment. The Last of My Kind said, Mary wants Jesus with Constantine's Demon Slayer shotgun the movie. Unrelated. Everyone drink more water. I
do need to do, like, I go through phases where I'm doing really, really well with my water consumption. Still not nearly enough as to what they tell you to. You know, the reason the women carry around the gigantic sippy cups.
Oh, you mean this thing?
I mean, even that's not as big as some of the ones you see.
I don't even know.
The worst are the ones that have the cutesy thing on the side where it says, like, it starts with the little things and says, like, you're doing great. Almost there.
I hate
Just
that.
a little bit left. It's literally women need, like, words of affirmation on their gigantic adult sippy cup.
No,
to get
don't.
through the day.
No, they don't. I hate that. And I also don't drink water. I drink sugar-free Gatorade and sparkling water only. And iced tea. What
I end up doing is, like, I don't drink enough of it at work during the day, and then I get home and I just drink a bunch of it all at once so that I won't feel guilty.
That's probably actually bad for you, but you know what?
And it helps to get rid of,
you.
like, well, or I notice that I'm starting to get a headache, and I know for a fact that it's dehydration and not something else.
The Crafty Raccoon sent a 20. As a small business owner, I tap dance like a marionette by the bootstraps and somehow still feel like a clown.
I guess it's just like, I also come, like, in my family, my dad was never one of those people who, even though he tried to give me good advice about, you know, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and what are you going to do about it? He was never like purposely obtuse about just what a world we were going into now, about how we're not, like, homes are ridiculously expensive. Millennials and Gen Z and beyond don't have stocks, don't have investments. Their only luxury in life is to get DoorDash on Friday. Like, he was never obtuse about the state of the world, but he wouldn't have accepted that as an excuse for me to just give up.
Sure.
And I think that there's a strong middle ground there for that.
Rhaegar Targaryen said Kirk Cameron is the OG Left Behind actor. I didn't know about this.
Okay.
I'll look into it. Matt Gingell said, if you're looking for new music, check out Humphreys McGee and their 2-day 6-set audience-driven show they did last weekend.
I have not thought about the band Humphreys McGee.
You've thought about the band Humphreys McGee?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of it.
I don't think I've ever actually listened to their music, but I know who they are. Was that like Mumford & Sons before? Did they transform into Mumford & Sons? Is Humphreys McGee the uncle to
Pokemon
Mumford & Sons?
Evolution. Isaac S. said Gongo Visa cards merch and or keychains?
Gongo visas would be funny.
That would be funny.
Like, we'd probably go to jail.
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said, what if you're watching an in-flight movie? Can you eat then? LMAO. No. Still no.
Still no.
I am an in-flight movie enjoyer myself.
Thank you.
But I watched the movie with sparkling water, and I'm good.
I actually just started watching movies in flight recently in the last year.
I love it.
It forces me to finish it.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else to do.
Exactly. It's perfect.
Yep.
Red Snow said, I'll see Warfare in theaters if they make the people lizard men. Otherwise, I'll wait till streaming unless I can see it free. Friend works at a theater.
That's cool.
Oh, you get a discount? That's nice. New Guy Don't Haze Me said, and here I got busted sneaking 2 candy bars into a movie concealed well within my coat when I was younger.
Damn.
How did they know?
Never lived that one down.
You must not have been hiding them as well as you thought.
Scared you off doing that forever. Like, even last time when we were at the movies, I bring in, like, my sparkling ice, like, flavored water. Because that way I don't have to get a gallon thing of high C that I'm not going to finish. And I accidentally left the bottle on the chair, and I never do that. I'm very good about throwing away all the stuff, and I'm still thinking about it to this day. It was like 2 weeks ago.
That ruined a movie theater employee's entire life.
Guys,
Brett.
he's like, that son of a bitch.
He never has
in.
to throw water bottles away.
No, the point he's like, look at that. If you would have paid for one here, I might be able to get a raise next year because of this freaking jerk.
Yeah, and he would be right. You ruined his life.
Yep.
Gordon Shumway said, wait, what if you're on a 2-hour flight and watch a movie? Food allowed? Is Mary's brain going to break? Yeah, food is still not allowed. Just watch the movie in peace with a beverage, maybe. Deep South EDC said, I haven't super chatted this episode. For the gongo, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorenko Production said, wait, so then are you allowed to snack on pretzels on a plane if you're also watching a movie? Loophole. It's not a loophole.
They definitely are calling you on it. They definitely think they just found a loophole.
It isn't a loophole at all. You sneak food into the movie theater because it's something that needs to be snuck.
Gentlemen, you can just eat the movie, the food on the plane. You don't have to listen to Mary. You can do whatever you want.
Snuck all the snacks you sneak.
The scream that I scrumped.
The scream that I just scrumped.
It's amazing to think about that there's social media content that gets created, that whoever the person was that made that video doesn't realize that, to me, that still comes into my brain like every once a month. I think of this woman saying, the scream that I scrumped.
Rent free.
I don't even know her name.
Well, she probably didn't come up with it, though. You know, I saw that phrase a long time ago. Red Snow said, remember to praise Space King over the weekend, gang. Sirenko Productions said, great minds think alike, I guess.
There you go.
Shane H. Wilder said, I love that everyone had the same in-flight movie thought at the same time. It wasn't a loophole. It never was. You sneak food into the movie theater precisely because you're not allowed to do it. That's why you do it. That's the joy in doing it. High Voltage 75 said, choose one, soft pretzels, hard pretzels, or pretzels stuffed with peanut butter.
Soft pretzels.
Yeah, I would have to say a soft pretzel. With some cheese.
Of course.
Or no, the cinnamon.
Cheese for me.
It depends on my mood. Pete Donovan said, when I took the train across the U.S. and Canada twice 2 years ago, I brought multiple days' worth of food with me and only bought food as needed in between trains. No subsidized snacks from the cafe car.
Well, it would have been super expensive.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah.
Red Snow said, the stuffed pretzels are basically crack. Yeah, those peanut butter ones,
I avoid
those are
buying
really
them.
good. I avoid them like the plague, but they are really good.
Yeah.
Once I start, I can't stop. Shane H. Wilder said, men, here's some dating advice. Always go for the woman with a big purse. You'll never have to buy overpriced snacks again. Just make sure you pay.
So
this is what I'm saying.
Olivia used to carry around like a bag similar to yours.
A backpack?
Like a backpack
Full
bag.
size, like actual backpack.
It's a little bit smaller than that.
Okay.
She switched recently to like a regular purse, but when we go to the movies, I make her put the backpack again so that I can put my drinks in there.
I have a almost full-size backpack I take with me everywhere, and it's perfect for these times.
Yep.
And I do wish I could have something less cumbersome, but I have that brain worm that all women have, where we just need to have everything with us at all times, like in case of every scenario. Rhaegar Targaryen said, okay, I need to know, who says pretzels? Well, I guess I said it originally because I was making fun of people who get pretzels on airplanes.
She believes you're a baby if you have to eat.
On an airplane.
She thinks that eating while at certain altitudes is child behavior.
Yes, it is. I also got so much hate for saying that cereal is a child's food.
I eat so much cereal now.
It's a child's food.
I love it.
I
love my
stand
cereal.
by that. Yorishima Otaru said theaters make barely any money on tickets. Well, I don't care. I'm not going to buy their mediocre food. I'm going to skirt the rules.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It's Friday, so I hope you all have a good weekend. Hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. We need more subscribers, and we need you to watch and share this stuff out there with your friends. Like the video. It tells the algorithm you like the content. Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at MaryArchived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also MaryArchived.
Perfect. If you guys want to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than watch, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And if you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at PopCulture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. I will be on Timcast IRL tonight, derailing the conversation as per usual, but we got one more super chat there.
Gordon Shumway said, Mary, you're not making any sense. You're encouraging sneaking food to watch a movie at the theater, whereas you get food for free to watch an in-flight movie, and it's encouraged. Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense because you sneak the food in to get a sick thrill out of breaking the rules, and it's better food than prepackaged pretzels.
Okay.
So
Olivia said that they give you the
objectively
pretzels. Olivia says they give you the pretzels on purpose to encourage you to buy drinks because they give you salty food so that they will get you to drink more.
Is so messed up.
I have no idea if that's true, but it makes perfect sense to me.
They're psychopaths. Shane H. Wilder said the large shredded wheat biscuits are okay, right? Not on a plane. But yes, they're okay. They're not cereal. It's not a child's cereal.
All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see y'all then.
Bye.
Later.